without the personal interaction in person, it's impossible to connect with the audience. And I don't accept that whine.
Welcome back to the Business of Happiness podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Taryn McCarthy, and today is going to be a great day. Thank you so much for joining me last episode when we spoke about healing time sickness and how to make time work for you. I just know that you're going to find so much value out of today's episode. This is exciting. I've actually been counting down the days for this one. You're going to just love this gentleman and his expertise. I'm going to keep you in suspense for one more minute to remind you about our next episode about consistency and the compounding effect of consistency and commitment. That's going to be another great episode. But for today, so we don't keep you waiting any longer, I have a question. Do you know how your messages are being received? In this new world that we're in, we've all been living on Zoom and FaceTime and Facebook and Instagram and emails. Do you know that the message you're hoping to deliver is being received in the way you hope it to be? Well, today's expert is an absolute knowledgeable superhuman when it comes to understanding self-awareness. He is an actor and a producer and a performer and a director and all of the above. So he is the expert on understanding how the audience receives your messages. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Mr. Michael Allosso. Welcome. We need the applause.
Happy New Year, Taryn. Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here and sharing your expertise with us. Tell us, please, for our audience members who don't know about you, tell us who you are and where all this excellence comes from.
My grandparents were born in little rural towns in Italy, Taryn.
I love it. I love it.
They immigrated to this country having part of their family already born in Italy. Both my parents were the youngest of a tribe, and they were born in the US. And so I come from, my roots are from Calabria, Italy, and Abruzzi, Italy, and two very diverse parts of Italy. And I grew up in suburban Boston, the son of a firefighter, being taught work ethic daily, sandwiched on the middle of three boys, sandwiched between two superstar jocks. And I was kind of this dweeby, nerdy, intellectual guy who liked the arts. And I was pretty quiet and I just watched people. So I watched all these firefighters come into my home, all these athletes come into my home, huddled on the floor watching I Love Lucy reruns and flash forward, I'm 22 years old and I leave Brandeis where I did my undergrad, and I'm a high school drama teacher. And so now I am watching kids daily, giving kids feedback, building their confidence, helping them through the arts, helping them by making them do plays, putting them in plays, doing drama classes, making them evolve as individuals so that they could be their best selves. Flash forward to now, where in between, I directed professional theater, as you said, choreographed professional theater, acted, film. And quite by accident, I ended up transferring those skills to people in the business world. And I believe we're all actors, as long as we understand that acting has nothing to do with pretense. Look up acting in the dictionary, folks, says nothing about pretense. Some Webster's has the fifth or sixth preferred definition. Latin scholars know what acting means. It's from the same root as action. It means to do, to perform, not to pretend. Karen, you know what we call actors who pretend? No. Unemployed. We don't hire them. So this is how I've evolved into now becoming a self-awareness coach, a communication specialist. So I do keynotes all over the world. I do workshops with companies in the US, Canada, UK, And I do one-on-ones everywhere. And with the transference to virtual, all that work since the middle of March has been virtual.
Yeah.
So I'm eager to get back on the road again. So suddenly I've gone from being a live theater star to a film star. And since I had film acting in my repertoire, the, that transition was not as difficult for me as it might have been for someone else. And that's what I'm helping others do right now, make that transition so that we could present, come across equally effectively, both on the screen and in person.
Excellent. Excellent. And thank you for all that you do. That's such a great gift, especially because it reaches so many people right now, since we're all finding ourselves in this new on screen presence. So, why do you think specifically self awareness is so important right now? In 2021, why is this such an important thing?
The most important thing for a person to be, for me, is authentic.
Mm,
That I can give you all the attributes that I want leaders to be, that I want you and me to be, Taryn, but nothing is going to overshadow the word authentic, believable.
mm,
So I call my program You on Your Best Day, and it's you on your best authentic day. Sometimes people hear, oh, it's an actor, he's going to do pretense. No, it's about authenticity.
mm,
The problem with authenticity is that people equate it with being natural. Well, belching is natural. I can think of lots of natural things that we don't necessarily want to bring to the table when we're interacting with our teams. And do you ever get someone, Taryn, where you call them out for their behavior or you point something out to them, and they say, well, I'm just being myself.
yeah.
And they're being snotty, rude, discourteous. Really? Is that how you define yourself? See, if you tell me the most important person in your life is your life partner, and at the end of a workday, you walk in the door or you leave your office in your home on a business call, and you then check your emails, you check your snail mail, get a snack, and then 45 minutes later, seek out your life partner
Mm,
and see how their day has been. Well, I'm going to tell you, Taryn, either you're lying to me about who your authentic self is, or with intentionality, you must choose the micro messages that connote your authentic self.
mm,
And therein lies self awareness. I'm not aware of the behavior I'm doing because I don't have a director looking at me,
mm.
telling me what my micro messages are. For
Absolutely.
example, you right now are loaded with positive micro messages. You nod, you smile, you listen, you engage. Many people on Zoom sit with a dour face, never nod, and then you ask them at the end what was the problem, and they say, that was the best
Yeah.
presentation I have ever heard in my life. Well, guess what? Your micro messages don't connote that. And so for me as an awareness specialist, of course, I'm not going to just take one micro message from you, one micro message from the dour, apathetic listener. I take an amalgam,
Mm,
but I'm an awareness specialist.
yeah.
Are your people, are your family members. And any one micro message you send, they're going to respond to. And they often go to the lowest common denominator. So, Taryn, I'm not in the business of telling people what micro messages to send.
Mm,
I am in the business of telling them they're sending them. And so
interesting.
I want you to be intentional with those micro messages. And that's really what the definition of self awareness is.
It's interesting going back to that example you just gave of expressing who's most important to you in your life, say your husband, my husband, and then maybe not showing those micro messages, not expressing those sentiments exactly in my daily actions. How many of us do you think are lying to ourselves? So, in other words, maybe our messages aren't showing who our authentic self is, but how many of us are actually deceiving ourselves about what our authentic self is?
It's a fair question. And I have no idea what the number would be. I know the people who aren't are the people, when you tell them what I've just shared with you, they say, thank you.
Hmm.
And I'm now going to work on it. The people who are deceiving themselves will defend their behavior,
Hmm.
say that that's just my opinion, that there aren't universal truths, that No, because I stare at you and swear at you and I'm sarcastic. That's just me. They go
Mm,
into that's just me. So it's interesting, Taryn. Your question is loaded in neuroscience. It's I find that the most confident people are also the most humble people,
mm,
and the people with the least amount of confidence are the least humble, and they become arrogant and defend and say what you just said.
mm,
People who are in their skin, they embrace this.
mm.
And so that's why you see the full circle. It all goes back to my high school drama teaching. It's people have to be confident about who they are.
Yeah.
And so, in order to make a person hear, encourage a person to hear this information about self awareness, you got to open the door first. You can't just tell a person a litany of things. You could never, I could never begin a workshop by saying, wow, you're dour, you don't smile, you're
Mm.
grumpy, you never nod. Why would one want to listen to me if I haven't opened the door to that? So a lot of it has to do with how you make people seen, heard first. Then you can heighten their self-awareness. I think a lot of times people refuse that feedback because someone hasn't seen their excellence first.
Interesting. So I hear in there a lot of relationship building, the
Yeah,
necessity of, and that's where that communication side of it comes back in again. How is the message that I'm giving being received? And is there a relationship here that gives us a foundation to grow from? Am I right?
exactly right. One thing I do when I do my workshops, Taryn, is I ask the audience what are some of the skills and talents you associate with actors at the top of their game. And we make a giant list. Then I look back to the audience and I say, okay, if I were making a list of skills and talents you need to be excellent, not good, but
Mm,
outstanding at what you do every day as a business leader, as the leader of a home, which one of these things do you want to delete?
mm,
And you know the answer. It's rhetorical.
mhm,
None. It's the same list. And based what you said, it's very interesting. One of the most frequent answers, practically every single group will say, connection to the audience. That what an actor at the top of his or her game does is connects effectively to an audience.
and that's the one they're ready to delete?
No, no, no. That's in
Oh,
fact always on the list,
okay.
and it supports what you just said. No, in fact, they know it's pretty amazing. I haven't had a group that's ever, as a group, said I want to delete one. Occasionally, you'll get a single person who says they want to delete one,
Oh, yeah.
and they'll. It's so. For example, recently someone said to me, "Vocal skills. I don't need vocal skills." So, really? Really, you don't? And so then I write on the list, okay, vocal skills, everybody except Taryn. Taryn doesn't need vocal skills. And I say, so do you deal with a non-hearing work
Yeah,
audience? Is that what you do? Um, it's no, we need them all, but
yeah,
connection to audience, apropos to your statement, super critical, and each
critical.
audience is different. And you see, that's where people are struggling with Zoom because they want to whine and say, oh, without the personal interaction in person, it's impossible to connect with the audience. And I don't accept that whine. No,
Interesting.
yeah, no, let's get busy and figure out how we're going to do that.
It's really interesting because it's this whole idea of screen presence that you brought up before. And as you're talking, I'm just picturing all the people who, don't wear pants on Zoom. That's the big
Yeah,
funny thing. And how you perceive yourself when you're sitting in front of somebody. How much of that is important in terms of what we're wearing, how we're showing up, the way we look, even if it's to ourselves. How important is that?
very astute. What I say, it's from a movie called All That Jazz
Ah,
that Roy Scheider got nominated for an Oscar for. He's passed away, where he plays Bob Fosse, the great theatrical director, choreographer. Now,
yes.
Fosse was a genius, Taryn, as you know, but he had a little trouble in his personal life. He was a womanizer, alcoholic, chemical abuser. So when his alarm clock went off in the morning, it was tough for him to get going.
Huh.
So he'd drag his sorry butt out of the bedroom into the bathroom, look himself in the mirror. And do you know what he said to himself every day to get himself going?
No, please tell.
It's showtime.
Mm.
It's showtime. And the same with us. it's showtime.
Mm.
And your piece, I have this thing that I call the 35 secret weapons to help you be you on your best day. And secret weapons 10, 11, 12 are diet, exercise, looking good.
Mm.
Any deficiency that we have in person gets exaggerated virtually.
Mm.
So if you're not caring for your appearance, you might be able to get away with it in a live setting. On camera, Karen, you're in a little rectangle.
Mm.
It's all about you. Your frame right now, for example, your frame is what I'd put as a model frame. So your lighting is excellent, your sound is excellent, your set design is excellent, your costuming is excellent. All of a sudden, Taryn, we have to be set designers, lighting
Yes.
designers, costume designers, sound designers.
Isn't that the truth?
Who taught us that when we got our PhD, when we got our MFA? No one
Yeah.
teaches us that, but it's super important now,
Mm-hmm.
more than we could have ever imagined. And so, yeah, I get a lot of emails that say, buy loungewear, buy pajamas, it's a new normal. No, it isn't,
Hmm.
because it's two-part for me, Taryn. One is that it's disrespectful to your audience. If you show up in your PJs, you know, not clean, not well groomed, that penetrates right through the screen and shows such disrespect. The other piece for me, I don't know about you, Taryn, but back in the old normal, when I could wake up in the morning, go directly to the gym, do an aggressive workout, take a hot shower, get dressed a certain way, ooh, watch out, world.
Yeah.
Whereas when I wake up in the morning and throw on my sweatpants and start eating carbohydrates and make my first East Coast telephone coaching call, I don't know if I'm me on my best day. So there's
Yeah.
something about how you feel, how you kick into that zone, and appearance is a part of it. And the same with your set. I love your set. I mean, that thing over your left shoulder that looks like horse tails, or I mean, it's so provocative. And then to have the business of happiness, to have the leaf, in the vase, the whole thing looks so cool to me. And it's another whine I'm getting, Taryn, is that, well, how do you break the ice with someone you don't know over Zoom? I
Mm.
can do that in person. I can't do it over Zoom. Well, if you give me something in your frame, like I could talk to you for an hour just about your frame. I
Mm.
mean, I'd have questions about all those cool things. And it's not that they upstage you, they're enhancing. Your lighting is also excellent. A lot of people struggle because they put their windows behind them,
Yep.
which means their whole face turns dark.
Yep.
So, I mean, asking my clients to invest in the ring lights. Did you watch American Idol at the beginning of the lockdown? All the kids had to be sent home before the last couple of auditions. So they sent them all ring lights, these things on a stand, they're a ring. And what it does is it gives you front lighting.
Yeah, sure.
So you need overhead or front lighting so that your lighting's flattering. You and I are both wearing headsets because dogs bark,
Yeah.
construction happens, heightens the quality of your sound. And then, yeah, choose something. I'm not asking you to wear an evening gown or a three-piece suit, or I'm asking you to feel proud about what you look like. And
Mm.
so you wearing a vibrant pink, your makeup's appropriate. These seem like, why are we talking about this? But the why is if you want to use your term, connect to people, connect to that audience, your appearance is a piece of that.
Hmm.
And it becomes so dominant on the screen. I'm looking at it. And I encourage all my folks to turn on cameras. I don't accept that excuse of I'm going to attend the meeting, but I'm not going to turn on my camera. Well, obviously you're doing something else.
Interesting. So all of these things are those micro messages you were talking about.
Bingo.
Cool. So what advice do you give to somebody who is anxious to be their authentic self? This vulnerability doesn't come easily, and they don't know if they have the right micro messaging behind them. What advice? Yes, I heard about the ring flash or the ring light, and I heard about wearing appropriate makeup if you're a woman or a man, or keeping things decluttered, probably. But what about an internal mindset about being able to bring your authentic self forward? What advice do you have for someone who's struggling with that?
How familiar are you with Dr. Brene Brown? Karen?
She's amazing. She's
Yeah,
definitely amazing.
that's what I figured your answer would be. So for the teams that have not read Dr. Brown, I asked them to read Or, all right, I know a lot of us don't have time to read, watch one of her TED Talks, or
Mhm.
even watch her short piece on 60 Minutes that she did last April or May. She says things like, if you don't own your own feelings, they'll eat you alive.
Mhm.
She says, you may be afraid, but you do it anyway.
Mhm.
One of my favorite things she says is, there are many cheap seats in the arena. Leaders are people who step into the ring.
Mhm.
And so I ask folks to step into the ring. Now, obviously, as an improviser, risk taking is it's secret weapon number 13, risk taking.
I like it.
Yeah, super important. Risk taking is very personal. So for me or you, Taryn, our level of risk is going to be very different from someone as you just described. So you can only gauge risk taking based upon yourself. So maybe risk taking for you means that you do turn on your camera and you do dress as if you were going to leave the house today. Maybe that's a big risk for you.
Mm.
For you and me, that's not a big risk. We have to figure out what our risk is. Maybe it's a hot opening. I've been singing to start most of my meetings these days, to just start outside everybody's comfort zone. Let's go. Let's sing. Here we go.
Hmm.
And that's made a difference. And so people can only go outside their comfort zone if they know what their comfort zone is. And that's, some people coach people too aggressively. No, I want to be me on my best day. Gradually, in steps, I go outside my comfort zone. Secret weapon number one is energy. So I say that I usually ask this question, Taryn. I say, now, am I asking you to be energetic every moment of every workday? And many people say no. And then I'll say, well, are you aware that when you walk in the building or when you pop on the screen, all eyes go to you?
Hmm.
Are you aware that people talk about what mood you're in a given day? They do talk about what you're wearing. They talk about who you said hello to, who you didn't say hello to, who you said hello to by name, who you didn't say hello to by name. You're
Hmm.
rock stars. Can't take that lightly. Now, sure, Taryn, we all have downtimes, but if you have a downtime, you got to do what Steve Martin did on the set of Pink Panther 2, the movie I did with him. You got to go in your trailer and close the door. But if but if
Ah.
you're dealing with me, a client, a customer, your life partner, nobody really cares about what you did 10 seconds ago, 10 minutes ago, 10 hours ago. No one's really interested in your introverted sadness. No. So, and look, you hear what's happening in the background. Bridie's barking. That's part of the new normal too.
Yeah, it
The,
is.
the, the new normal now is that we have to be a little more forgiving of dogs and babies. Because think about it, Taryn, some people, they are responsible for raising children more than their life partner. Their life partner sometimes isn't there. Sometimes they don't have a life partner. And so they're trying to commit to a business meeting while they have a 3 year
Mhm.
old.
Mhm.
And sometimes that 3 year old is in someone's lap for a moment. The big mistake we make, and I call it focus and concentration, secret weapon number two, is that we ignore that child. We
Mm.
pretend the child's not there. And that to me is a mistake. I think you honor the child, you say hello to the child, and then you move on. Life partners walking in the background, that's different. That you ignore. Children, dogs sitting on people's laps. I had a guy over the summer, Taryn, his cat was sleeping on his head the whole time. He says when he's home, the cat sleeps on his head. You got to say, hello, cat. You got to do something. You got to acknowledge it. And once that's acknowledged, I think that relaxes people. Now, I'm not saying you deliberately bring your children or dog into the frame, but we're all working from home. Many of us are, and that's going to be part of the new normal. So, how do you maintain a high focus of concentration, make a person feel honored, don't make them feel bad, and then you resume and then you continue? That's secret weapon number two, focus of concentration, which is related to secret weapon number one, energy. See, I don't know if you remember during 9/11, George W. Bush said, no one wants to hear the president say, oh, woe is me.
No.
And he's right. No one wants to hear us say, oh, woe is me. Because the minute you think your problem is the biggest problem on the screen, think again.
Exactly.
Taryn, I think I've done over 200 virtual presentations since the middle of March, keynotes and workshops. I think in every single one, there was either a person who was the parent of a kid with special needs,
Yeah.
someone who had a person dealing with drug issues in their family, someone dealing with alcoholism in their family, someone with a senior in a nursing facility or assisted living that they didn't have easy access to. Those four things alone, there was always one person at least who had one of those four things going on. So what I have to assume is whatever my problems are, they're not as big as yours. And
Absolutely.
whenever I assume that, I'm always right.
It's really interesting when you talk about acknowledging that, acknowledging the cat on your client's head. It's that's the authenticity as well. And as soon as you bring and welcome that authenticity, it creates the connection. It's almost coming right back to what we were talking about before in terms of acknowledging and being authentic in that I see a cat on your head. I'm not going to ignore that fact. And then once I acknowledge that cat, now we can have a little bit better, closer connection. There's not a pretense, as you were saying earlier.
That is a huge conclusion you drew, and that is 100% accurate.
Yeah.
And we could subset that. It's noticing excellence on the screen,
Mm.
remembering what somebody said. So if somebody makes a sentence in minute 3 of your Zoom meeting and minute 43 you quote them, that is acknowledging the
Mm-hmm.
cat on the head.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we want to do, is that you really see us. And what happens is people go to this automatic neutral void.
Mm.
And right now, Taryn, we need empathy more than we've ever needed it in our life.
Yeah.
That there's more loneliness and stress right now than I ever remember in my lifetime. And you pretty much have to assume that's there.
Mm.
And therefore, if we're going out of our way to see, to hear, to acknowledge, that is going to bring that meeting to life,
Mm.
because when that person feels seen, heard, acknowledged, they're going to participate more. And
Absolutely.
now you have a meeting that's humming.
And also bring their best selves. I think everything you're talking about just really resounds for me in terms of leadership qualities and how to lead a team of other leaders, how to encourage your team members to be their best selves and do that in an authentic way. So, one of the things that you're so good at is helping people understand how to give and receive feedback. When it comes to a leadership position, if you're a business owner, many of my audience are business owners. Suggestions do you have in terms of if there's something you really want a team member to improve on? There's something that you're recognizing as a lack or a need to grow. How would you best advise a boss, a leader, how to help their team member grow in that area?
The foundation has to be established first, Taryn.
Mm.
And so it's Secret Weapons 5, 6, 7, which I call truth, specificity, positive thinking, TSP.
Hmm.
So, so this whole section, Taryn, for me is about feedback giving. But think about it, Taryn. Feedback's a compound word. And what's the first word in feedback?
Feed.
Feed, right. So look at the first letter of truth, T, first letter of specificity, S, first letter of positive thinking, P, TSP with a period in it. And any recipe I've ever had is teaspoon. So I believe that we have to nurture and feed people with that very criticism that we give them on a daily basis. And I believe it needs to be truthful, specific, and positive. Now, you have to be careful because it's a troika. You can't do one of the three and be as successful. In other words, I can't just give positive feedback. I can't just say, "Oh, Taryn, you're wonderful. You're just so wonderful." You know, it's, "Oh, Taryn, Taryn, you are the best podcast interviewer in America." Yeah, you know what we call that? Don't say bad words. We call that sycophantic, SYCOPHANTIC. And most all intelligent people hate that, Taryn. And by the way, listening audience, those of you who are parents, grandparents out there, don't do that with the little ones. You know, Simon and Maeve, the 6 and 5-year-old in my life, when they bring me artwork and I say, "Ooh, Simon, that's excellent." You know, the very next question he asked me,
Go ahead.
what do you like about it, Poppy?
Yeah.
And that, if I don't have an answer at age 6, he's blowing smoke.
Yeah, you're
You
right.
know, the older ones, you know, you see them at a sporting event or concert, you can't say, "Ooh, you're the best ones out there." why are they the best ones out there?
Mm.
If you back your feedback up consistently with truth, specificity, and positive thinking, your family members and your employees will achieve greatness.
Mm.
I speak in the UK quite a bit. Taryn, 2 times ago, I was speaking in Oxfordshire, England, and there's a man sitting in the back of the room. He raised his hand. He said, "Well, I'm afraid I don't agree with you on that one at all.
Hmm.
Well, I've been giving that sort of feedback to my employees for years. And frankly, it does absolutely nothing. All it does is make them come clamoring into my office demanding more, more, more. So you see, American boy, your theory simply doesn't work. Sorry, wrong." And I said, "Well, that's nice, sir. Can you give me an idea of some of the things you say to your people?"
Mm.
He said, "Certainly. I go up to each and every one of them every day and I say, 'Job well done. Bravo to you. Cheers to
Mm-hmm.
you. Excellent work.'" Yeah, Darren. Yeah, no. See, dude, the problem is there's not
Yeah.
enough meat on the bone.
Yeah.
Now, to answer your question, Taryn, the other thing where people fail is you got to be careful of just giving positive feedback only when you have something negative to say.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? So
I
I say to
do.
you, I say, Taryn, I love how intelligent, warm, and friendly you are.
But.
Right, Taryn. Everyone in the room, most especially you, knows
Mm-hmm.
I'm headed for the butt.
Mm-hmm.
When I gave that example when I was in Scotland, this guy from Dundee very enthusiastically raised his hand. He said, "Oh, I know what that one is. That's the sheet sandwich." And I said, "I beg your pardon?" He said, "Oh, yeah, the sheet sandwich. You start with something good, then you
Yep.
shovel in the sheet. You end with
Yep.
something good again, the sheet sandwich."
We all know that
We
sandwich.
all know it, Now, and Taryn, here's the thing. It's not that I'm opposed to the sheet sandwich for reviews. Sometimes it's very good. I am opposed to it if it's the only time you're delivering the goods.
Mm.
And that's why people don't receive that constructive criticism well.
Hmm.
You got to be in the habit of just going up to somebody and saying something like, "Taryn, what I love about you is your interviews show incredible interest in me. None of your questions have seemed canned. They've all seemed based upon a response that I make to your question prior. To me, that makes you a great interviewer."
See, I believe you.
Right. You can't challenge my T or my P
Yeah.
because of the S. So when folks ask me, "Well, how do I tell my team ways that they're going to improve?" You got to earn the credits.
Yeah.
Now, if you like this idea, I can recommend a book for your audience. I love self-help books. I have a whole bookcase full of them.
Yeah, please do.
I've only read 10% of them, but I'm doing better now that I have a Kindle and an iPad. One guy I do read, Taryn, is Ken Blanchard.
Oh, yes.
Sure, because his books are real skinny with big print.
Yeah.
I mean, folks, you could read 10 Ken Blanchard books on a flight from Portland, Maine to Manchester, New Hampshire. Okay, they're that skinny. And the book I want to tell you about is called Well Done.
Ooh.
And what this book is about, you dog moms and dads will love it. It's about how they train the whales at SeaWorld. And Taryn, I
Ah.
got to go to SeaWorld last year and actually see them do this. It was wicked cool. What they do is they put a thing in the water and they say to the whale, "Okay, whale, jump." Whale swims around for a while. No one punishes whale for not jumping. Gets the thing, he jumps. They reward him. They lift a little higher.
Hmm.
They say, "Okay, whale, jump." Whale swims around for a while. No one punishes whale for not jumping. Gets the thing, he jumps. They reward him. Whale's starting to get the hang of it.
Mm.
They lift it higher. They say jump. He jumps sooner. By showtime, the thing's way the heck up here. They say jump. He jumps right away. The audience goes, "Ooh, ah, how'd you do that?" Blanchard's point is that this is how we should treat our family members and our employees.
Hmm.
Now, Taryn, one thing he says that I don't quite agree with, he says you need to earn 3 credits with everybody. I don't know if that's true. You may need 3. Your husband may need only 2. Your dad may need 5. All God's children are different. All I know is you can't go around slamming into people, because if you do, they often displace the responsibility to you. They blame you for their shortcomings. So my theory is once that is in place, then without ornament, without apology before it, without fluffiness, you tell someone directly, carefrontationally, what they
Hmm.
need to do better.
Oh, I love that word, carefrontationally. What a great word.
But Taryn, if I always ask this, Taryn, do you love someone more when you tell them what they do well, or do you love them more when you tell them what they need to improve on? It's a trick question. Of course, both.
Yeah.
It's both. And so we have to carefront people. It has to
Mm.
come through love. If there's not love there, that's when people will push it away. And what we've got to be careful of is that you got to earn that. You can't just
Mm.
start in slapping somebody in the head. Taryn, think about it. I've directed a lot of theater in my day, professional theater. And I'll tell you, Taryn, first 3 days of a rehearsal period, I give nothing but TSP.
Huh.
I don't tell people what they're doing wrong. I only tell them what I see that's excellent. Taryn, day 4, people follow me everywhere asking me questions. When I handed the mug to Taryn in scene 3, I didn't think I did a good job. Oh, do you think I should do this or this? Michael, what's your opinion? I don't know. Leave me alone. At that point, they now trust me
Uh,
and they are eager to hear ways that they can improve. And so that's the environment, that's the culture you want to create,
mm,
where people are actually looking forward to your carefrontation. And
love
if you're
it.
saying it with love, they welcome it and it makes them better and they see the results. But you can't be quick with the first thing. And what
Mm.
I find is that people think attaboys earn credits, and they don't. You can't just go around patting people in the head and saying, "Yeah, you do a great job, but this is wrong, this is wrong." That does not work.
Yeah. It reminds me, you brought up Brene Brown. She says, clear is kind and kind is clear. And I love thinking about that, especially in giving feedback to employees or even to family members, for that matter of fact.
Right, you are.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Michael, we have about 75 more questions here. I could talk to you all day long, but I think that a great resource for our audience is finding you at your website, because you have so much to offer and there's so much content on there that's just available to anybody coming to your website. And you have some great projects. I would love to learn more about your deep dives. So tell us how we can find you, and not just on your website, but online and your social media platforms as well.
Right. We're on Twitter, on Facebook. We're on Instagram and Facebook. And my website is michaelalasso.com. And it's terrible. You said this earlier to me. We're only as good as the people we surround ourselves
Yeah.
with.
Yeah.
And boy, is that true. So my media director, Wendy Gilbert, she has created a wonderful presence for me, both on my website and on Facebook and on LinkedIn. I have a strong LinkedIn presence. Those are all the places you can find me.
Great.
And what I do is I have the 35 secret weapons to help you be you on your best day,
Mm-hmm.
and I embellish them every day. I do a phone message every day that you can sign up for. So, Taryn, if you call my home office, you hear a different message 365 days a year.
I
You
know.
call
I
my
was going to ask you about this phenomenal thing that you post a new outgoing message every single day.
I've been doing it for over a decade. Look, you have to be authentic. You can't be a hypocrite. I can't say to people, be creative, do something unusual. And I say, hi, you've reached Michael Allosso. So every day it's something
Wow.
new. It's usually a this day in history. Often it's a quote. And
Oh.
I do the same for my cell phone. So I'm doing 730 messages a year that I create. I do it. It's like brushing my teeth. I often do it the night before. If I get up early in the morning, do it early in the morning. And so you can even get those and listen to the message of the day and how that might inform you. And then what I've done is I've been doing deep dives, what I've called deep dives, so that people can get more individual focus.
Mm.
So I did a major public event in September. So I opened it up to the world, and we had 670 people come and watch me for an hour. And then I said, well, I'm going to do this for small groups in October and December. So in October and December, I took the first 24 people who signed up, and I did a 3-hour seminar
Wow.
giving them all carefrontation, celebrating their excellences and their beauty, what I saw on the screen, giving them exercises, giving them the opportunity to ask questions. Well, and then I asked them for feedback, got great feedback. People wanted it smaller.
Mm.
So I'm January, I said, okay, now I'm doing an 18-person one. And so I think what's going to happen now in 2021 is that if not every month, every other month, I'm going to be doing these deep dives for a maximum of 18 people.
So who am I if I know that that's for me? Who are the people that you're targeting for these 18-person deep dives?
Did anyone tell you you asked the best questions. I mean, that is the perfectly appropriate and exciting question to ask right
Well,
now.
what is the answer, Michael?
That's awesome, Taryn. If you're a leader
Nice.
and have to motivate people, you belong in there. If you are on a team and you feel meetings have been lackluster and insipid, you belong on there. If you want to heighten your self-awareness so that you get more feedback about how you come across, you belong on there. If you want to sparkle your interactions with the people you live with and the people you work with, you belong on there. Those would be the top 4 categories. Anyone who's interested in self-improvement, anyone who's interested in laughing and having a good time, I'm an entertainer. So I do 3 hours of, it's like me doing 3 hours of stand-up where you do it as well.
That's great.
So I can't lie to you, your heart beats when you come on. The heart's beating. But I never make anyone do anything that's going to mortify them. They're only going to do things that's going to get them a little bit further outside comfort zones so that I can see more of who they are and give them feedback about what shines.
That's great.
Help them understand where they go to the next level.
Well, we'll be sure to put all of these links in the show notes. So definitely everyone can find you that way. But for those who are driving their car listening to this interview right now, just tell us again how to spell your last name, because I know that might be a little sticking point of how people find you online.
Thank you, Taryn. It's Allosso.
Great.
For those of you who know Italian, it's to the bone, alloso. It's like osso buco, the osso, but an all before it.
Love it.
Osso.
I'll never forget that one now. That's good. Okay, last 3 questions here. My first question is what, although I already know the answer to this, what is your superpower, Michael?
I genuinely believe in and love people. So God has blessed me with an ability to see with great clarity, to use your word, Brene Brown's word, Taryn, with great clarity and great specificity, what your beauty is. And I not only cognitively can process that, I can create the words to say it so you understand it and appreciate it and believe it.
Oh, that's a good one. What a great superpower. I love it. I love it. What is your definition of happiness?
Where every human being I touch is better because they met me. That's what makes me happy. If I think I go to the supermarket and that person stacking cans, that I say something to them and I leave them a little better than where they were before they met me, that is happiness. And the more of those I do in a day, the happier I am.
Oh, that's great. I mean, you're speaking about authenticity. It just comes across so beautifully as I'm speaking to you that I recognize both your superpower and just what inner fulfillment means to you. I love it. I love it. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Well, people always say, whoa, that's so much work to fill buckets every day. But, you're in the business of happiness. You fill buckets. Whose bucket gets filled the most?
I know.
Your own. It's so joyous.
It is.
Thank you for asking that, Taryn.
No, that's beautiful. Thank you. All right. My last message, my last question. If all this great work, your excellent performance with Steve Martin on Pink Panther 2, all your dramatic work, all this beautiful website your team has put together, all your deep dives, all disappeared. I know, God forbid. What is one message that you would want to leave your 2 grandchildren with? Those 2 sweethearts. What is one pearl of wisdom that you can give to them as they go forth with their lives?
Luke 12. Michelle Obama did a version of Luke 12 that I would say to Simon and Maeve, be grateful for what you have and be ready to share it when the time comes.
Oh, Lovely, lovely. Well, thank you so much for sharing your excellence with us here today. I'm so grateful to you. And thank you to all of you for listening to this excellent interview here today. I know you'll be able to find Michael on all those places that we're going to put for you in the show notes today. And please seek out his excellence. And once again, thank you for thinking a little bit differently and reimagining your definition of success. Today's going to be a great day. Bye-bye.